Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everybody, Chair and members. So I'm sure that you all have heard about just the breaking news yesterday, right? That there's 6 million people in Southern California that face water restrictions unseen like ever before and could very well be in a situation like, many of the communities that I represent at the Central Valley. And while I would like to blame this on the drought alone, I'd be dishonest. Uh, it's just one of several factors, from lack of storage to damaged infrastructure. And in my humble opinion, it is in large part due to an antiquated water system that has led to the mismanagement of our most precious natural resource here in the state of California. And I want to make a point of noting that this is the first time I've partnered up with a member of the legislature on water that is not from the Central Valley. And so I'm just very happy and thankful to have Senator Cortese here with me to speak in support as a joint author of SB 1219. But water scarcity is, as I said before, it's not just a Central Valley issue. It's not just a California issue. It's a global issue. And report after report tells us that water scarcity needs to be looked at really in a nexus with framework with food, health, energy, and security, all part of it. In fact, a 2012 Community Intelligence Assessment Report on the state of global water security indicated that over the next 10 years, this was back in 2012, many countries important to the United States will experience water problems, shortages, poor water quality, or floods that will risk instability and state failure, increase regional tensions, and distract them from working with the United States on important U.S. policy objectives. The report also stated that during the next 10 years, the depletion of groundwater supplies in some ag areas owing to poor water management will pose a risk to both national and global food markets, and that water in shared basins will increasingly be used as leverage, and the use of water as a weapon or to further terrorist objectives will also become more likely. I've been working to find new strategies and ways to collaborate to help address the drought we are facing and protect us from water and food scarcity now and into the future. And I, I last year the Senate made and pushed and advocated for unprecedented investments in our water infrastructure, and construction has already begun to repair the state's water conveyance systems. This is the best investment we can make to conserve the limited water supply that we have and deliver it to the communities across the state, not just the Central Valley. But more funding is still needed for full repairs, but until full repairs are made, we will continue to lose way too much precious water as it travels through the Central Valley and to Southern California. It's water that we cannot afford to lose in this climate. And just last year, there were many towns across my Senate district that their wells ran dry. And as I mentioned earlier, we know that 6 million people from parts of Los Angeles, Ventura, and San Bernardino counties that rely heavily on the state water project could experience the same. So the impacts of poor water management in California threaten the safety and well-being of all people. And to combat that, Senator Cortese and I partnered together to improve the transparency, the thoughtfulness, and efficiency of how decisions surrounding water are made. Today, there are too many government entities that each deal with a piece of water management with similar but sometimes conflicting goals. And those most impacted by the decisions they make, both vulnerable, often low-income, and or in rural communities, as well as ag, are too often not part of the decision-making process. The laws of the early 1900s do not apply to the challenges and needs of the California we live in today. We introduced Senate Bill 1219, also known as the State Water Resiliency and Modernization Act, to prioritize the preservation and sustainability of water usage and ensure that water is protected for future generations of use. Modernizing in 2022 means increasing transparency. Modernizing means that we have better control of water fee increases. Some of those fee increases being felt across every part of California and will continue to rise more than likely. Modernizing also means that we do better in providing clean drinking water for all and that we don't delay these projects that our most vulnerable communities desperately need. Modernizing means that we have cyber security across our water system and acknowledges a new era of cyber warfare we are in today and how it could be used against us. Colleagues, poor water management makes us all vulnerable and really, I think, in my humble opinion, threatens our democracy and our very own existence. SB 1219 will improve our water management by creating a committee that will provide guidance for a more integrated water management framework. A modern system that will help us account for every drop of water and follows the most recent science. A modern system that will help us all conserve. I'd like to give time now to Senator Cortese to speak on the matter as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. I'll be brief. After that thorough presentation by our colleague, Senator Hurtado, I think what's really, really important about this bill is a couple of things I want to emphasize. At the bottom of page 3 of the analysis, there's what looks like just another enumerated bullet point, if you will, about various findings that should be made during this process that's called out in the bill. But that statement is really almost more of a conclusion. To ensure that the state has a modern 21st century set of water laws, regulations, and state and local water agencies, it's important that the state take a top to bottom review of how water resources in the state are managed and identify necessary reforms. That's necessary reforms for a water system that needs to serve everybody, every stakeholder, and every issue out there. Is that ambitious and comprehensive? Yes, but to do that, the bill calls for a main committee, which would be set up. The setup itself would be in a very transparent way, and in a blue ribbon committee of stakeholders that can make that process as transparent as they would like. And so I don't want to, excuse me, tackle opposition that before it's stated or or perhaps over anticipated. But you know, to look at what's been brought forward, at least in the analysis, that that somehow this kind of work could be done, implied not at taxpayer expense, is not realistic. Of course, it needs to be done. Thank you.
We need water.
Very healthy, just swallowed wrong, and I apologize. The process is necessary. We don't have a modernized water system, let alone a modernized way to look at what's going on in the water system at any moment. Nothing even equivalent to ISO that would apply to water right now. We need it. Of course, it has to be paid. That process or analysis has to be paid for at taxpayers' expense. Transparency is not only not a problem or obstructionism or anyone trying to impede the reforms, but the bill itself actually calls for reforms and sets up a process where there would be 4 legislators from both houses, which is tantamount or roughly equivalent to what we'd have in a policy committee like we're convening here today. So, you know, I'm very proud, you know, to be a co-author of the bill and would urge your aye vote. Thank you.